Well, my first reaction would be, maybe if you don't end up on pictures with a woman that has white powder by some pizza.
I thought that was
You
flour.
understand what I mean?
Yeah.
No. Let him go. I got you. No. Let him go. I got you on this.
Like I said, what I'm saying to you is,
cake.
I don't know what the white powder was, and I'm not making any accusations.
You think it was HGH?
I don't know. All I'm saying to you is that maybe if you didn't find yourself in that position, they wouldn't be testing you as much. Now, having said that, I don't like the fact that they subject these guys to all of these tests. I think Odell Beckham Jr. is absolutely right. But the fact that you're right doesn't matter because you are not the boss. They are. And if you know that, then not just during football season, but during the offseason, you have to watch everything that you do. I don't like what these players are being subjected to by the National Football League. But the reason why I'm not up in arms about it is because you have to know you're representing the brand at all times, not just from September to January.
That tweet does not reflect, is not about what they subject the players to. The reason he said random with all those stars and in caps is because he feels that he's being targeted.
They are targeting him.
Now, let's take this. There are two reasons.
Which is why I brought up the picture.
There are two reasons it may be targeted. One, the picture, the video, okay? The video, which was not a selfie, it was not taken it was taken by neither Odell nor the woman in the room. Mm-hmm. He was not seen doing anything with the white powder. Mm-hmm. That means there was a third person in the room taking that video, right? Like, what is the other explanation? There's someone else, which sounds to me like something.
You really want to break that up with me?
Well, I mean, like,
I don't know if we want to break that down.
You really want to go there?
Well, you can draw.
Let me jump in here and stop you because if you're referencing white powder, you're referencing street drugs. These random tests during the season.
Right. Hold on. That's what I'm
street drugs.
That's what I'm getting to, Teddy. Number one, maybe he's being set up in some way.
Possibly.
Number two, PEDs, at least on the field, performance enhancers on the football field, have nothing to do with that white powder unless you thought it was HGH, and you didn't even see him doing it anyway. No suggestion that it was his. That's number two. And if it's not that, if it's the white powder why he's getting tested, that's just stupid. That's a stupid policy. Who's making that decision?
Really?
That's right. That's
I'm confused.
Right.
So the NFL needs to be smart.
Time out. Why is that stupid? I don't understand.
Because it's not a performance enhancer. Why would you give extra random tests about performance-enhancing drugs if you think he's doing a recreational drug? Those two things are not connected. It's insane.
Do you think they should be testing for recreational drugs?
No. That's a separate issue, Molly. Please, if everyone would let me just get the thought out.
Okay.
The other reason they would be testing Odell Beckham Jr., which makes sense to me, is people cannot believe what they're seeing. This dude is unlike anyone I've ever seen with my own eyes, and they may be thinking, like, that's just not humanly possible.
Go ahead, Teddy.
I see that point. Actually, because of the street drugs, if I'm not mistaken, that's the one test throughout the year in training camp. And these random tests are for performance-enhancing drugs. And I laugh. When I first saw the tweet and I hear Molly reading it, I laugh because it is a joke amongst players in the locker room how they're randomly coincidental, we call them, sort of, when either you've come back from an injury or then you magically get the memo in your locker about a random performance-enhancing drug test. Players laugh about this, just like Odell Beckham Jr. tweeted about that all the way back. I mean, you get that piece of tape with that white little memo in your locker that the guy's here, and you got to meet him in the bathroom. And so it's really funny about the timing of it at times, because when it's random and then you have 50 plus 60 guys in the locker room, and it always seems that the timing is right to where there is a certain situation where you need to be tested, players laugh at it.
Well, let me say this. First of all, Max Kellerman, I'm going to remember how you said that about please not interrupting you to let you get out your point. Boy, and I'm glad you said that. I'm going to hold you to that one.
I know you're not
please.
saying that.
I ain't got nothing on you. You can't let anybody. I mean,
twice as much.
Twice as much. We all know how you are. I'll leave it at that. Number two.
You are
I'm
really
going to say this.
delusional.
I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say it again. I don't disagree with your points. Not any of them. I totally sign on with you. My issue is that you have players in this league that need to recognize what you're dealing with. You're talking about right and wrong. I'm talking reality. The NFL doesn't have to be as smart as you required them to be. A matter of fact, how many years are going to go by when we religiously point to some of the nonsensical things that they do? but they do it, and they have the power to do it. So you pointing out the idiocy of their tendencies and how, you know what, it's wrong to Odell Beckham Jr. You know who it doesn't help? Odell Beckham Jr. or any player that thinks the way you are highlighting. Because the reality is that regardless of what the NFL throws at you, they have a right to do it, and they do it religiously. And if these players don't recognize the fact that, guess what? You are not an NFL player from September to January. You are an NFL player all year
what
around.
you're talking about
and
is still
they're watching
an abuse.
you.
Hold on,
It is an abuse.
What you're saying
but they
it's
do
an abuse of power because
but they do
there's a CBA that allows for random drug testing.
Okay.
If the insinuation is, if what we are inferring is that the tests are not random, that the NFL or someone in the NFL is using them punitively because someone they felt put them in a bad position, that's an abuse of power. It's not allowed by the CBA, and it should be stopped.
Do you need me to call, to ask First Take to show Teddy and Molly and me videos of Max Kellerman repeatedly pointing out how the NFL does that over and over and over again? But they do.
If the fourth estate doesn't point it out.
No, listen to what I'm saying. We can point it out. But in the end, the player is going to suffer if their mentality is, you wrong. So guess what? I'm just going to do what I want. No, you better capitulate. You better capitulate.
And if our mentality or your mentality, because it's not mine, is simply might makes right. Simply because those in power are in power, they should be allowed to abuse it. It will continue to happen.
It's not about might making right, Teddy. And could you please chime in here. It's not about might being right per se. It's about the fact that it was collectively bargained.
No, this wasn't. Random was.
Wait a minute. Random was.
This ran random.
But it's subject to interpretation, which obviously has favored the National Football League because they continue to do it. They can't be stopped.
No,
Let's
the
give Teddy the
interpretation
last
hasn't
word
been
here.
properly challenged.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Teddy.